About a week ago, when we found out that Tom Brady was going to be going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everybody was like, oh my gosh. You think about Tom Brady with a litany of weapons, and it's going to be insane what he'll possibly bring to the football field. And what do I mean by that? And so you thought about Mike Evans. You thought Mike Evans, he was going to possibly be paired with a great tight end in O.J. Howard, right? You think about that pairing, and you're like, oh my gosh, he doesn't have a very solid run game, but you think about those pairings, and you're like, yo, this could be phenomenal. This could be something different. You think about him with Chris Godwin, and you think about him with Mike Evans. You think about him with O.J. Howard. You're like, yo, that's crazy. But then on top of that, the possibility at the time still existed that he could reunite with Antonio Brown and even add either a Todd Gurley or a Melvin Gordon. And then you were like, oh my God, the Bucs are about to soar. It's going to be way too much for the NFL to handle if you give Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Melvin Gordon, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and O.J. Howard. Now, it's too much for the NFL to handle. Tom Brady is headed to his seventh NFL, title. And so we definitely thought that immediately. However, over the course of the last few days, maybe the last week or so, stuff has started to kind of fall back a little bit. Melvin Gordon gets signed to the Denver Broncos. You get a chance to see Todd Gurley go to the Atlanta Falcons. So those two big-time running backs are not going to be his. And then finally, the last piece falls where you have Bruce Arians basically saying this on Tiki Barber has a show, and so he on the Tiki show, he basically comes out and he says this, and I'm gonna play it for you all so you can hear what he says about the possibility of signing Antonio Brown.
Is there anything else that is going to happen in this offseason? Because there's speculation that Antonio Brown wants to come down there and play with you. Now, you know him a little bit, obviously, from the Pittsburgh Steelers days. What's the likelihood AB gets back in Tampa? Because I know he has, or at least Tom has had an affinity for him because of his work ethic. Forget all the other antics, but just how he works on the field and in practice. It's top of the line.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
There you go.
Not going to happen. There's no room.
Yeah.
And probably not enough money, but it's just not going to happen. It's not a fit here.
Interesting. Well, there is room though because you lost Perriman. I don't know if he says I'm coming in on the veteran minimum, coach. I just want to play with Tom. You still wouldn't find a way to get him in?
No.
Wow. Is it just because you don't trust what he could do to the culture? Why so steadfast that you would not give it a chance?
Yeah, I just know him, and it's not a fit in our locker room.
I don't think you need to say anything else. You're not a fan. Understood. Gotcha. Okay.
So despite the fact that you have a remarkable talent in Antonio Brown, we've all watched for the past season, like all last year, all last season, we got a chance to watch the complete unraveling of Antonio Brown. I mean, so many antics, so much stuff was going on, so much stuff was happening on a week-to-week basis. We saw the music videos, we saw the situation with him and his baby mom. We saw the pledge that he'll marry or date no more white women in 2020. And we saw the whole situation go down. We saw him fire off on Twitter and then back off and then fire off and then back off. And we saw this continuously play out. But from the outside looking in, we still can see just a complete, unraveling. We can see that very clearly. However, as somebody who's coached, at least been around him in the football atmosphere, for Bruce Arians to come out and say that, hey, there's no room for him here. We can't do anything with him. There's just nothing we could do. Even if he plays at the vet minimum, that tells me a lot about what a lot of coaches are possibly thinking about bringing in an Antonio Brown. If you watched and paid attention, his talent got him a situation with the New Orleans Saints, and Sean Payton bought him in. And then right after that, he brings in a whole camera crew. He shoots a video while he's there. He then drops a song about New Orleans, and then he, says he lays a curse on the city for not picking him up in the offseason, for playing with his emotions. He said they bought him in for a publicity stunt, and then, just completely botched that situation on his part. I guess coaches, organizations, NFL teams or maybe they're fed up. And across the board, maybe that's the reaction to an Antonio Brown. I don't know if at some point Bruce changes his mind. Remember, he's, no risk it, no biscuit. You feel what I'm saying? And how else do you risk it as opposed to bringing in an Antonio Brown? That's the best way to risk it. And if he plays, I feel like the only person who he will listen to, I just talked to my wife about this. It's so funny. I just feel like the only person Antonio Brown will listen to, I don't think he's coachable, but I think he will listen to one person on earth, and that's Tom Brady. I think Tom is the one person who can get to him. He's the one person who can help him. However, people always say don't burn bridges, right? And I feel like he burned his bridge early with Arians, and I feel like that bridge is now burnt in. And as long as he's in charge, and as long as he has the ability to say, yes, I will sign, I won't, then I don't see it happening. However, I'll say this. If a major injury comes up, and I don't wish injuries on anybody, but if a major injury comes up in Tampa and they're headed to a championship and he's still available, I feel like somebody over in the Bucs organization makes that call. I feel like somebody makes that call. Or if as the season, as the situation goes along, and maybe this Bucs team that seems to be very talented is not really producing the way they should, and they feel like they feel or seem like they're a wide receiver away, I feel like at that point it's risk it biscuit time, and he risk it and makes the call to Antonio Brown. There's a lot of NFL teams that seem close right now. They seem close to a powerhouse because of the weapons that they've added. I mean, just imagine if Antonio Brown went to Arizona right now with DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald, and wouldn't that be crazy? Antonio Brown's talent can make any team, really take the next leap or take the next level up. However, they won't do that, right? They won't make that move. They won't risk it like that because Antonio Brown has finally gotten to the point where it's just too much risk. It's too much risk, and nobody will take it. I hate that for him. I hate that for the future. I hate that for NFL fans because he was such a good talent. At the same time, we'll get a lot more music videos though, right? And and hopefully this is a lesson to him. I don't know how he fixes this. I really don't. I don't know how Antonio Brown fixes this situation. But if he does, it'll be good to see him on the field at least one more time if he doesn't come along with all the nonsense that's marked the last year for Antonio Brown. All right, with MTMV Sports, this is Rick Sincere signing out.